Good evening and welcome to the Junction. Tonight, an environmental quiz, a letter from God, old-time musical highlights, presentation and interview with Alex Mabs, and our monthly edition of Gears Years. And to guide you through this evening are your hosts, Mr. and Mrs. Hill.
Calm yourselves, calm yourselves. Bonsoir, bonsoir, bonsoir. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Good to be here.
What are you doing shaking my best friend's hand?
Bit of old-time music hall.
Absolutely. Well, we're not quite Richard and Judy, but we are Chris and Suzanne, and we do welcome you tonight to the Junction. Punch and Judy, no, let's do stop, yeah. Maybe later. Anyway, so we welcome you all tonight on not such a lovely evening to come out, but by the looks of it, you're here and you're excited about what we're doing, so thank you very much indeed. But we'd also like to extend a warm welcome to anybody who's not been here before, and especially to our very new-to-be Minister, Sue Chapman, who is going to be inducted.
Really welcome, Sue.
At the end of next week, and so we do welcome you very, very warmly, and we're delighted you're with us here tonight. So.
But we have got a packed show tonight, as they say, and it's all about, our guest star tonight is Alex Mabs, and we're delighted to have you back, Alex, who was really the mastermind of the Junction. Ooh. Carry on. Thank you, sir. The mastermind of the Junction all those years ago. We're in our 5th season, 2010 we started, unbelievable. So it's been really, really good. So we'll hear more from Alex a bit later on. He's going to give us a talk, and we're going to have a little interview, and we've got lots of things and videos to show. But first off... our icebreaker for this evening is going to be a quiz, an environmental type quiz. And see just how good you are at these questions, or how aware we really are about what's going on in our world. So, planet Earth's climate did not change for hundreds of millions of years until humans started burning fossil fuels. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's false? False. Okay, so it's not just us humans. Okay. It is false, yep. The Earth's climate has changed regularly over its 4.5 billion year history. So it's not just us, but we're not doing a particularly good job at the moment. So let's move on. So scientists have only been aware of global climate change for the last 50 years. True or false? False. True. Those who think true? Oh, it's false. There we go. It was around 200 years ago that scientists first began to suspect it. So, it's going on for a long time, and we need to start to take some notice, don't we? Okay, so the world's population in 1974 was 4 billion. So what do you think it is today? 7 billion. 7.2, okay. Any increase on that? 7.5, okay, let's see. 7.4, so 7.3, very, very good. So, that is a massive increase, isn't it? So, if we could remove all of the greenhouse gases from the Earth's atmosphere, our planet would be a better place? True? False? False. Yeah. No, you're right. It is false. We do need those as well. Otherwise, we'd have a really big problem. But it's knowing how much and what's good for us. So global warming will mostly affect animals and not humans. Is that true or false? We are animals. But wait, let's see. It's true. It is true. Scientists predict that in this century, global warming will be the main cause of animals being extinct. So a global rise of 1.5 degrees could put a quarter of all our species at risk. So, that's massive. That really is massive. So coal-burning power stations, which generate electricity, are responsible for most of the man-made carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Is that true or is that false? So we're talking about most. Is it? So true, false? Whoa, we're a bit divided here, so let's see. True. It is massive. It's estimated that coal-burning power stations are responsible for around 40% of all man-made carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. So that is pretty huge. So how many years does it take for a single aluminium can, I can't say aluminium, to decompose? So aluminium. No. So 20 to 40 years. So A, B, C or D? Which one do you think? D? C? C. So it takes an average of 80 to 100 years. So that is a long time. So by recycling just one of those aluminium cans, how long can it save enough energy to run a television for how long? So do you think 3, 6, 9, 12? B, 6? 9? Ooh. Let's see. A, 3 hours. That's still worth doing. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth doing, isn't it? So we do need to... So if you recycle a tonne of paper, how many trees are you saving? So if you cycle a tonne... It's true, it does depend on how big your trees are. So round about. Do you think it's the larger? Do you think it's 28 or do you think it's 12? 17, somebody thinks? Okay, let's see. It is 17, well done, yes. So, again, that is a massive amount. That is a lot. That's a lot of trees that are saved by 1 tonne of a tonne is a lot, but... So, if all of the wind around the UK coast could be harnessed for energy, how much of our energy needs could be met by this source alone, totally? So, none of our energy needs, all of it, double our energy needs, 3 times our energy needs. So if we could harness that wind going around the UK. Do you think double it? Let's see. 3 times. So it's a really difficult one, isn't it? Because if you think of what they look like all around, if we had them all around the coast, might not look so pretty. But if it saves the planet, we need to think about it. So, since 1900, sea levels have risen globally by 7 centimetres, 17. Sorry, it's not in inches, it is in centimetres. So larger, smaller, in between, what do you reckon? 57, somebody says? 57? 17. But that's still a lot. So evidence shows that the rate of sea level rising is increasing. So, gosh. So which of the following changes in climate has not already occurred? So, an increase in average global temperature over the last century, sea level, a decrease in sea ice around Antarctica. We certainly know sea's right, don't we? So, and fewer cold days and frosts and more frequent heat waves over the last 50 years. Well, I think similar, isn't it? It is true of both, isn't it? It's both ice caps, isn't it? That are. Okay, let's have a look, John. So it is, yeah, it is both. It's both ends of the earth. So, and then of course the impact it has again on those animals. So we know from what we've seen on the televisions that we're having less polar bears, and it's becoming a real problem to them because they need to be on those ice caps to be able to feed. So. Okay, so let's move on.
That, isn't it? It is entirely in our hands.
It is.
Okay. We've got 1 or 2 videos to show you tonight. The first one, actually, it's a brilliant video. We really like it. And Paul Richards, who was our guest star last month introduced us to it. It didn't quite fit with the theme, but we think it fits really well with this one. And it's called Letter from God to Man. And it's by a rapper called Scroobius Pip. Scroobius Pip. And I'm just going to read to you very quickly just what it's trying to say, because then you'll get the gist of it a little bit better. So what this is it's a version of God's inner monologue. It comes in the form of a belated apology, an explanation of why humans have been left to sort out their own mess. The God in this song wants to be clear that he feels misrepresented by certain claims which have been made on his behalf, and to draw a line between what he did when he made everything and how mankind has gone on to, twist things and really mess it up. So on we go.
This is a letter from God to man. Hey there, how's it going? Long time no see. I know I haven't been around much lately, but it seems like you wanted me to see. The last time I sent down a message announcing the cross, so I figured I'd just leave you to it, let you be your own boss. But I've been keeping an eye on your habits and amazing how you grow. You took the watchman advances and the problems you overthrow. And all the beautiful art you create with such grace and such finesse. But I admit there are a few things I'm afraid have impressed me less. So I'm writing to apologise for the policy in my name. Without the feel I intended, I feel I should take my share of the blame. But all the good I tried to disrupt with all unconditional useful swings. What I thought were quite clear lessons were taken from my youthly schools. My teachings taken out of context to meet the agendas of others. Interpretation taken so many different ways and hidden meanings discovered. Religion became a tool, but the weak seemed strong and strong. With all these new morals and ethics, survival of the fittest was gone. No longer could the biggest man simply take whatever he needed, because damnation was the price if certain rules were not heeded. Some of the deeds committed by ladies make me wonder where I went wrong. Back in the start when I created this, the foundation seemed so strong. See all the elements brought me here. Long before I began, I just kind of put them all together. I didn't really think out a long-term plan. I put the sun in appropriate distance, made the stars across the sky. So you can navigate the globe. I'll simply watch the sunrise. I cover the earth with passing fruits. Some from substance, some from you. You made the sun shine and clouds rain, so their maintenance was your duty. I tried to give you scripture, don't have to be cool without making them better. I gave you all your own space to grow in your own way space to develop. I didn't know such development. We were risks and jealousy. Pushed the war against each other and your hearts with this planet endeavour. You see, I wasn't a creator. I'm not a curator of nature. And on that demonstrate I'm a second right now. I don't hate you. I was a simple being that happened to be the first to use such powers. But I didn't lay the ground. It was you that built the towers. It was you that invented bombs. And the fear that comes with them. It was you that invented money. And the corrupt economic systems. You invented terms like jungle and terms like friendly fire. It was you that didn't know when to stop digging deep or when to stop building higher. It was you that looked at the resources I carefully laid out this earth. It was you that even told me problems come but it couldn't even live work. It was you that used my teachings for your own personal gain. It was you that committed such tragedy that you don't worry my name. So I apologise for any mistake I made when my words were misconstrued. But it's apology to Mother Nature, because I created you.
Well, it's quite powerful, isn't it? If you can follow along, it is very quick, but actually it's really powerful stuff, and I wish I could slow it down a bit. Maybe you want to freeze frame it. If you go back onto the internet and find it, then maybe you want to read it section by section, but that is powerful stuff. Just moving on a bit, and we're going to be looking at news from last month. Well, we've been very busy. We have been busy in respect that the boys have been very busy. You saw a little bit, you're going to see a little bit more, and we had the most fantastic show by the Boys Brigade for the musical. And but other than that, I think we've all been chilling out a bit. So maybe the weather's put us off a bit. So the news this week, or this month, is the BB and enjoy. And if you do enjoy it and you'd like to see more and you weren't able to see it, as you saw, the DVD's on offer. So do buy yourself one. £3, Pam?
Yeah, £3.
Bargain.
Yeah.
What can you do with £3? Buy it, absolutely.
Then there's the Irish man who plans to cross the Atlantic on a plank when he can find one that's long enough. No. Who's there? Being who? Been a while since I last saw you. One, two, three.
Well, I have to say that to see 20 young lads from the age of 4 up to the age of 18, not mentioning the adults that lead them as well, performing and giving us such a good show and raising money for the community. And so that's fantastic stewardship there. They're raising money for the British Heart Foundation, so that's what your DVD money would go towards. And to see young men up on stage like that when they wouldn't actually do it, they're not natural-born actors, is just amazing. So well done. Thank you very much, boys. So please do take that to them. Sorry? Some? Sorry, what did you say?
Some are definitely, but they're definitely brilliant.
Oh, no. I said they're not. That's not what they planned necessarily to be, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, that's fantastic. Anyway, we move on. So, from young boys to old boys, and it's now time for Gears Years. And Pete, you're going to come and tell us a little bit more about the kind of stewardship that you've received. Thank you.
Without stealing anything of Alex's thunder that's coming on later, our order of service this morning said that the theme would be stewardship. So I did a quick rummage in the cupboard and found my dictionary, and a very short interpretation of stewardship was the responsibility of serving or looking after others or property. And I thought, how does that affect me in my years? And I thought, well, I suppose the first act of stewardship I ever came across was when I walked through those doors and joined the BB. It was something new, a new creation in my life, and I'd never experienced it before, and as I've mentioned in previous talks, I was a bit of a tearaway, and in I walked and joined this motley crew. There were about 44 in the company in those days, and I have to say that society was totally different to what we know today. For example, the war had only just been over for a month. We still had rationing. There were no shops open on a Sunday. None of the senior boys had jobs working in supermarkets or anything like that. And you had to be a real brain box to go to university, because as far as we knew, there was only Oxford or Cambridge. There were colleges in Brighton. So there we are, and most of us left school to the relief of the headmaster at the age of 15 and started work. And when I joined the BB, there were several what I call old men as officers, you know, in their 50s. And then gradually the younger element of officers came back from the armed forces, and I think Harry Stone and Bill Bleach and Dick Dench, Bill Jackson. Our captain at the time was Bob Skinner, Robert Skinner, and he had served in the First World War. And I always wondered, it always said Robert E. Skinner when he did a report, MM, and I didn't know what MM meant until I found out that in the First World War he'd been awarded the military medal, but he never spoke about it. And to this day I haven't got a clue what he got it for. And he was not only the captain, he was our drill officer. Oh, and when he said jump, you jumped, you know. And that was the first taste of discipline that I got. But looking back, it was all creating a character that I didn't know existed in me. And then Bob Skinner retired, and we had another captain, and Dick Dench became drill officer. Oh my word. He was as bad, if not worse than Bob, for discipline. But through the auspices of his discipline, we won the drill shield, and we were the top squad. By that time, the numbers had decreased slightly, and we weren't strong enough to enter what they called the battalion colour competition. We entered the drill shield, and we won it more than one occasion. And our programme was quite involved. Starting at the beginning of the week, on a Monday, we were in here, and it was PE and gym. And the gym equipment was stored where these tables are now, and we had a dilapidated wooden springboard that could spring you up and through there if necessary, a vaulting horse, parallel bars, and scrubby coconut mats that we did floor work on. And our PE instructor was Will Smallwood, and he was an old boy of the company, and he owned a boot and shoe shop at the top of Brooker Street, Smallwood's, and he was brilliant. And he put us through our paces, and we won the PT competition, battalion. So yeah, we did quite well, and we started to get develop an air of pride rather than, well, we'll go to BB and see what's going to happen. We started to develop a feeling, must get to BB and see what we're going to do tonight now and what we've got to work for. And that was all the stewardship of the officers passing it on to us, shaping us, nurturing us, like making a cake. Some of us turned out weird shapes, but there we are. You needn't giggle. It'll come to you one day. So there was no television. So on a Monday was PE and gym, and that was optional. You didn't have to come if you didn't want to. Wednesday nights was drill parade, and we hired the assembly hall in Ellen Street School, where the flats are in Clarendon Road, the junior school. And as I say, Bob Skinner was the drill officer, and then when he retired it was Dick Dench. And we paraded up there, and 4 squads of 10 boys with a squad commander in charge, an NCO, and we were inspected by the officers, and the squad that got the most attendance and marks for smartness of their uniform. At the end of the month, they were awarded a squad medal, which they wore for the month until someone else, or they won it again the next month. And then at the end of the session, the squad that had won it the most times got a medallion nailed to a wooden shield somewhere in this building, used to hang on the wall over there, and it went back to the year dot, and these medals all the way round. And the lucky squad and the squad commander. And there's some old names on there that bring back memories. So that was a Wednesday. And then Saturday afternoon was football. And that was fantastic. We went various places, playing different companies. Some weeks we'd win 7-1, some weeks we'd lose 9-0. But that's how it went. And there was a stipulation in the company that if you didn't attend drill parade or you weren't at Sunday morning Bible class, you couldn't be in the football team the following Saturday. Call it blackmail, but we had a regular team playing football. And then of course Sunday morning in here, 10:15, Bible class until 10 to 11, and then we filed through that door there into the church for the first 15 minutes of the church service. And that was our life, and that's how we developed. Camp in the summer, camp at the spring bank holiday. The summer camp was the battalion one with all the companies. The spring bank holiday was our own company camp, and we went to Lodge Hill at Ditchling. Ditchling's never been the same since, but there we are. We had a great time. And so the stewardship of the officers grew on us, nurtured us, shaped us, and presented us to what we are today. Because if I was like I was when I joined the company, you wouldn't want to know me. But there we are, change has happened. And it is through the stewardship of those officers that led me to the Lord and why I'm here tonight. So, yes, hope I haven't stolen any of your thunder, Alex. Thank you. Thank you, old chap.
You're old chap. Well done.
That's stewardship.
Thank you, totally. I think your officers were very good stewards of your life and shaped it. It's funny how things change, isn't it? I mean, that gym stuff, health and safety these days, oh dear, that's terrifying. I'm going to ask Alex to come up in a couple of minutes. Delighted, as I say, to have Alex back with us as a guest star. And Alex, 2 years ago, took up a special appointment, I'm just going to check the press release, to the Brighthelm Centre, tasked with developing Christian theological thinking on environmental sustainability and working with other church groups and other interested parties to advance thinking on how to better live on the planet in which we habit, in line with Christian teaching. So he's been doing that for the last couple of years. We're going to hear a bit about that very shortly. But first of all, there's a kind of lead into that. We've got another video for you. And Alex gave us this link, which is by a poet called Roger McGough. Another brilliant video, perhaps not as... perhaps a bit cooler than the previous one, but equally powerful in terms of its imagery and its words as well. You need to listen quite carefully to the words, but really, really powerful stuff. And then after that, Alex, on you go. Thank you.
Mindanao, the Philippines, Butte, Zimbabwe, Somerset Levels, United Kingdom. This is truth, not science fiction. Ordinary people whose suffering is real speak of their fears, the struggles they face, and survival becomes an ordeal. Landslides do not require subtitles. Hunger gains nothing in translation. Parched fields, failed crops, drought and devastation. Everything touches, life interweaves, chainsaw and dust storm, ashes and leaves. Exhaust pipe and chimney, acid and rain, everything touches, unbroken chain. Here's proof, if proof were needed, the evidence builds up day by day. Big business, fueled by oil and greed, cries wolf and looks the other way. Tweet and shout, turn up the volume, this is truth, not science fiction. Shame on the naysayers, the blind eyes, who deny the pain of dereliction. Climate change affects us all, whether impoverished or well-to-do. Today a village in Bangladesh, tomorrow a town near you. This is truth, not science fiction, related by women, daughters and wives. Change is needed, for the climate is changing the world and changing our lives. Everything touches a planet in pain. For the sake of the children, repeat the refrain. Join in the chorus, let's make a difference. Together we can make a change. Join in the chorus, let's make a difference. Together we can make a change.
Hello everyone. Hello. It's nice to be back. Nice to be back at the Junction. I'm going to show you a picture. I think, is this going to be my signal, John? Yeah. There we go. So, familiar place, but perhaps unfamiliar people. The lady on the left is Melita. She's a minister from Kiribati, which is some people would say a small island nation. She said really we're a big ocean nation. Covers about 10,000 square kilometres of the Pacific, right in the middle of the Pacific here, on this map, about here. And on her left is Mina, who comes from Tuvalu. which is another group of small islands just to the west of Kiribati, so to the southwest about there. Okay. Here's a picture of the biggest island of Tuvalu. It's called Funafuti, and you can see the kind of islands that these are. They're based on coral reefs, and the coral grew and grew and grew, and as it came above the sea, soil in the air landed on the coral, and over a long period of time, these islands formed. And this is typical of these islands in the Pacific. It's a long strand, very low-lying, very narrow. So, Mina and Melita, we have them back, came to us, visit us last September, to speak at a conference that I helped organise in London, and tell us about what their lives are like. Now, if you imagine living on a small island like that, and when the seas rise, as they are, what was it, 17 centimetres in the quiz? Average sea level rise, and storms are getting more frequent, and you might remember what the year before last, Cyclone Pam was in the news, and it hit Tuvalu and it hit Vanuatu. It swept across that part of the southwest Pacific. Now we get waves quite high here, don't we? I was watching the sea this morning off the beach at Hove, and the waves are pretty massive. So how high is that, would you say? About 4 foot. So if the highest point on your island is more like that high, and the waves are that high, you're in trouble, aren't you? You run from the sea, and you're in the lagoon. So they're finding that the sea is washing over the land more frequently, and particularly as the storms are getting more frequent, the soil is becoming salty. Their basic staple diet is a root crop that Peter will tell me the name of because I always forget. Taru. They can't grow it in the soil anymore because it's too salty, so they're having to build raised beds and grow this plant in pots or in raised beds so they can eat it. The other part of their diet, main part of the diet, was fish, and you go out and fish in the sea. Trouble is the coral is bleaching because it's dying off. The sea is becoming more acidic. It's getting harder for the coral to live. And so the fish are further out. Coral's a good place for fish, but they having to go much further out for fish. So that's gone as well. And they basically eat whatever the ship has brought over from New Zealand and put in the shop. And that's what you eat today. That's what's available. On Tuvalu, there are no rivers on any of the islands. So no springs, no rivers. It's just rainwater. So everyone has a tank to collect the rainwater in, but if it doesn't rain for more than about 3 or 4 weeks, you've run out of water. And then you rely again on someone bringing water across in a ship from New Zealand or Australia or Fiji or somewhere with a river. So life is getting hard on these islands. About 10,000 people live in Tuvalu. 4,000 have already emigrated to New Zealand. About 100,000 or so on Kiribati. But the president of Kiribati said it's too late for us. He says whatever the world community agrees about emissions, he says it's too late for us. We're the canary in the coal mine. And Mina was telling us how they're trying not to move. But the day will come they won't be able to live in their home where their ancestors have lived. I think probably for longer than my ancestors have lived in England. And they're going to have to move. This is climate change today, and we could tell similar stories from Bangladesh, where the soil that's affected by salt water washing over it, that boundary has moved 100 kilometres further inland. They can't grow the rice that they used to eat in Bangladesh that used to yield a harvest 4 times a year. There is another variety of rice they can grow, only yields a harvest twice a year. And so on. We can tell these stories about how life is getting hard now because of climate change, whether it's rising sea levels, whether it's more frequent storms and floods, whether it's droughts. In the news just lately, just the last few days, Southern Africa is facing a famine. There's been a famine in Ethiopia for a little while, a terrible famine. Southern Africa, Zimbabwe is in trouble, but they're not going to get food from South Africa that they've got in the past, because South Africa also is having a bad harvest, facing bad harvest. The whole region is facing a drought. We've had floods here. You know, the weather patterns are changing. And yes, we've always experienced climate change. The world's always gone through these cycles. What's happening now is that we're experiencing very rapid warming of the Earth. It's very, very rapid. Much more rapid than any natural cycle would give you. And this means that in the natural cycle, say, 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs died out, or whatever, life can adapt. Plants can adapt. Animals can adapt. Because the change is happening slowly, and you change slowly, generation by generation. When the change happens over 100 years, it's much too quick for those adaptations to take place. So daffodils in December are no good for bees emerging in March. What are they going to eat? Cherry blossoms come out, gone. So these sorts of changes make it very hard for life. We've lost, the Zoological Society of London estimates we've lost half the wildlife of the world over the last 40 years. We're living through one of the biggest mass extinction events that we've never known. Take a deep breath. We're the first people ever to walk on this earth, ever, and breathe air with 400 parts per million carbon dioxide. It's never been this much in the air. It's new territory for us. And the scientific community of the world is agreed, as much as scientists ever agree, it's as strong as it gets, that the change that we're experiencing is due to human activity. And we're facing a bit of a crisis. So the world's leaders met in Paris in November under the United Nations, and they agreed a treaty at the end of it to try and deal together with what climate change, with this challenge of climate change. But it's up to us. I've got to do that, I'm sorry. Oh, there's a picture of Manhattan underwater. It would be different, wouldn't it? Anyway, let's go on. I'd forgotten I got that one. Oh, there's a picture of the Earth drying out. I'd forgotten about all these slides in my presentation. Here we go. Psalm 146, verse 3. Do not put your trust in princes, in mortals in whom there is no help. Happy are those whose help is God, who keeps faith forever. So we put our faith in God, who keeps faith in us. But the point really is we can't trust the politicians to sort it all out for us. This is something we've all got to take part in and do something about. I asked Melita from Kiribati when she was over here, I said, Melita, if there's one thing that people in the UK can do to help about climate change, what would it be? Okay, and this is what Melita said.
If people in the UK did one thing to help the people of Kiribati in connection with climate change, what do you think it should be?
To change their lifestyles and to live a very simple life. I think by doing this and sacrificing more that is there for them, which is abundance, and that could help us in our struggles for the impacts of climate change that it gave us.
Thank you.
So it was almost as if she said, duh, wasn't it? Change their lives, change their lifestyles. We can all do things, we can all help if we pull together. So things like, we can talk about this perhaps later, Chris. Things we can do together. One of them is doing it together and building community. If we've got a stronger community, it's easier to share stuff, it's easier to be generous, it's easy. We can reduce the impact that we have on the Earth systems if we do it together and combine our forces. Our faith makes a difference. Let's have another slide. Because this is what God is doing. God is at work in Jesus, reconciling all things to himself. This is in Colossians 1, making peace through the blood of his cross. And it's things whether on earth or in heaven. It's all things. God cares about the sparrows. He cares about the daffodils. He cares about the badgers and the ants and everything. And he cares about each one of us. And God is at work, and God wants to work through us, I think, as well, in doing something about this. So, have I got another one? Oh yeah, here we go. So this is a lecture, slide of a cartoon of a lecture, and they're on the board. They're all the things that would be better if we did something about climate change, try to tackle it. The ways in which life would improve. Energy independence, we'd preserve rainforests, sustainability, jobs, health, all this sort of thing. But the guy at the back saying, yeah, but what if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? Maybe we can create a better world. Maybe God is calling us to create a better world anyway, you know, because that's what we're going to do, isn't it? Isn't that what it's all about? So that's the end of that, Chris.
Thank you, Alex. Give Alex a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.
So, was that about 3 minutes? It's about 3 minutes.
Good 3 minutes that was, yes. There we go. Thank you. It's a heavy topic, isn't it? Goodness me.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there during your presentation about the kind of practical things that people can do. I mean, we do recycling and stuff like that, but there's, is there a bigger thing that we can be doing as well as being aware?
There's all sorts that we can do, both individually and together. There are things that churches can do, and one of there's a new program just launched 2 weeks ago called Eco Church. And it's a program that a church can sign up to look at what they do at their churches. It looks at the building, it looks at how you organise your lives, it looks at kind of that corporate level, but it also gives pointers for people individually to do. And you get an award, and you can work towards several tiers of award. And it's a tool that I think will be very helpful to churches.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's about energy, it's about food, it's about transport, it's about really the whole way we live and about lightening the impact on the earth.
Yeah. I must admit, I often think that our church upstairs feels expensively warm. Perhaps that's my treasurer's hat on, let alone the environment.
Mm.
I mean, obviously you put loads of work into this the last couple of years, and prior to that, has kind of the environmental side of things always been a passion of yours?
It has, for a long time, yeah. It's grown the last couple of years, I think, since
absolutely.
Became more involved.
Full-time job.
Yes.
I mean, you were going to suggest you might talk about composting and so on, but another time.
Yeah, another time. Maybe I'll come and bring some compost.
And you mentioned as well, I mean, there was a huge convention in Paris last year in November, the UN climate change meeting.
Yes.
You were involved in that somehow.
Sort of ish, not really directly at all. There was a pilgrimage. About 40 people walked from London to Paris, and they arrived in Paris at the beginning weekend of the summit. And I went to Paris to meet them in. I saw them off from Brighton. They stayed overnight at Brighthelm, and then I met them in at Paris at the weekend, along with some people who travelled from all over the world, walked or cycled. A couple had cycled from Vietnam to be there. They spent about 10 months cycling from the Mekong Delta to the Seine, and and
I confess, I don't quite know what they agreed, because I think the convention or whatever went on and on. It took them a long time. There were meetings going on to the early hours of the morning and so on. Is it about agreeing the amount of increase in the world's temperature that we could permit, inverted commas?
Yeah, there's sort of a number of headlines coming out of it. One was to try to limit the global temperature rise to 2 degrees centigrade since the beginning of the industrial period. And you said 0.74 in the quiz. I think it's close to 1 by now, so that may be out of date. But with an aspiration to limit it to 1.5 degrees. Because we see, even with the temperature rise we've experienced now, we see these impacts on wildlife, on plant life, on the weather, on everything already. So 1.5 degrees we don't really know what that effect that will be. So that's one thing. So to achieve that, we've got to cut right back on the amount of carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere. And so each country and the UK negotiated as part of the European Union, put in pledges of how much they would reduce their carbon emissions. And then there was some negotiation to try and sort that out. Yeah. And what came in from that was not enough There's some fairly courageous pledges came in, and quite radical pledges. We've pledged 40%. I can't imagine cutting my energy use back by 40%, but that's the challenge before us. Yeah. But it's not enough to see the temperature rise down that low. So there's also a mechanism in the treaty to revisit these pledges at 5-year intervals and try and ratchet them down. And then the other element was to give financial support for countries that are just at the beginning of their development, if you like, out of poverty. So they can have some financial support from the countries that become wealthy by burning a lot of carbon over the last 100 or so years, 150, 200 years. So they can develop their economies and bring their people out of poverty, but without costing the earth.
Yes, literally.
We will support them from our wealth so that they can develop in a low carbon way.
Okay. Fascinating stuff.
So it's not as good as we needed, but it's better than we expected.
Yes.
This kind
but
of
people
thing.
are talking and taking action, and
And there was a huge amount of goodwill at the end of that summit, which I think is a good sign.
Yeah, completely. Alex, thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure having you here. Obviously, loads of good stuff. So thank you again. Round of applause.
Thank you.
And I'm going to do a Graham Norton bit, which is if you want to go and get ready, Alex, we'll do your musical bit. It's your turn now. It's not community singing, though, you'll be pleased to know, where we're going to sing Bring 'Em All In.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Some of you have sung this before, I know. It's an old Waterboys song. And I think of it as, we had a letter from God earlier on. I think it's like this is from God, kind of saying, wanting everything to be brought in. It's this idea of all things being reconciled through Jesus. So God's saying, bring them into my heart, bring them all in. Gather in the whole of creation, made new, made right. So the chorus is, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. So this is a great song for people who can only sing 2 notes. If you can only sing 1 note, it's not quite so good. But okay, so that's the chorus. So just try that. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Can we sing that twice? Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. There you go. So I'll sing the verses. If you want to sing along with the verses, the words will be on the screen. You feel free. Otherwise, just sing the chorus, okay? Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring the little fishes, bring the sharks, bring 'em from the brightness, bring 'em from the dark. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em from the caverns, bring 'em from the heights, bring 'em from the shadows, stand them in the light. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em out of purdah, bring 'em out of store, bring 'em out of hiding, open up the doors. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all in, bring 'em all into my heart. Bring the unforgiven, bring the unredeemed, Bring the lost and nameless, let them all be seen. Bring them out of exile, bring them out of sleep. Bring them to the table, sit them at the feast. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, all into my heart. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Now you need a deep breath for this middle bit. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all, bring them all in, bring them all in. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all in, bring them all into my heart. Move them on, head them up, move them on, head them up. Right. Oh, sorry. Oh, I can't help ruining that song. I'm sorry. It's just too tempting. Every
Well, I'm not sure what we've got in mind, but I think the Master has certainly got things in mind for us, and probably this is a pretty good one. As each of us has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. And it is because of God's grace that we are all here, and it's because of his grace that we are all able to go and meet him too. But we do need to be good stewards and to help each other and use those gifts that he gives us, whatever it may be. And we all have very different gifts, and we need to recognise those and use them. So tonight, thinking about the love that we have for one another, as in Valentine's Day at the end of the week, and also thinking that we're starting the period of Lent on Wednesday, what is it that we can be thinking of and maybe changing, that we go without, or maybe we do something a little bit more? And you've got some hands on your tables at the moment and some pencils, and maybe you could think of something that you might think, well, it's not really a New Year's resolution because that has come and gone, we are into February now, but maybe something that you could really think of that you could do. And we're going to, when you've done that, if you'd like to come and bring it up, and we're going to put them up on our world. And it could be something very, very simple. It could be that you haven't really been doing the recycling quite as well as you really ought to be. Let's, concentrate on that, because that's a really important thing. But it might be something else. Whatever you've got in mind that you think is going to be good stewardship, whether or not environmentally or for the needs of others. So it might be that you're going to volunteer. It might be that you're going to come and do something within your own church and offer to do something that you haven't done before. Whatever it is, bring it to the Lord, and we're going to put it on our world. And there's some reflections for you while you're doing so. Well done. It's nice and
this about? Somebody's seen them again. I really, you know, it really touched my heart how they felt so thrilled that we used to go and play on the beach. They really loved that, didn't they? Yeah. And the chap who represented the islands was on Radio 5, I don't know if you heard it. It's when we came over from Paris, because he really, whoever was over there, really impressed them, and they wanted to talk to him and to take her there. But unfortunately, he did say a bit, but he didn't really, not really get to the part,
We're going to just do a prayer.
Yeah.
Then it's on to the...
Yes. Okay, so... Yeah. So just let's draw some of... I haven't looked at what you've written, but I think that we can just bow our heads and offer up a prayer to the Lord. Dear Lord, we do thank you that we come here on a night where the wind is howling and the rain's pouring, and yet we can be so grateful for all that you do for us. And we particularly thank you that we are very lucky in this part of the country where we have been saved from flooding. But we do pray for anybody that is suffering from the rain. Other countries need it, and yet sometimes some of our countries have more than we need. But we pray, dear Lord, that we can try and spread what we have, and that we can share things, and we can make this world a better place just by thinking of others and just not ourselves. So please help us, Lord. Please make us wise and enlighten us to how you really want us to live. Amen. And so we're going to finish tonight with another song, and Alex is going to lead us, and I think it's one that you hopefully will know, and it's called Over All the Earth. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
good. No, it's good to revisit it. That's all right, don't worry. That's right, thank you. Don't worry, that's fine. Thank you very much. We've worked you hard tonight, Alex. Thank you very, very much. So, thank you very much for coming and sharing with us again tonight. And we wish you a very happy month and the beginning of Lent. So, eat all your bits and pieces up on Tuesday and enjoy your pancakes. And next month,
Special guest star,
Sue
Chapman.
Sue. So do come along and we're going to find out more about Sue and how she came to become a minister and things like that. So please come along and join with us. But thank you very much. God bless you all.
Good night.